I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up trans rights. The war on transition. Heritage Foundation targets adult gender-affirming care. The Heritage Foundation has long been the powerhouse behind conservative policy, but their latest mandate, Restoring America's Promise, takes aim at a new target, adult transition. While much of the national headlines focused on bans for minors, the Heritage Foundation calls out for the federal government to stop funding gender-affirming care for adults through Medicare and Medicaid and to strip such coverage from federal employee health benefits. The agenda doesn't stop at the checkbook. It suggests that the Department of Health and Human Services should officially define sex as a fixed biological binary, effectively removing non-discrimination protections for transgender people of all ages by classifying transgender ideology alongside pornography. The plan seeks to push trans existence out of the public square and into the legal crosshairs. While appearing on the PBD podcast, Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts used the Rhode Island shooting as justification for going further, effectively outlawing transgender people. For the community, this is a wake-up call. Critics argue that by targeting the insurance and legal recognition of adults, these think tanks are attempting to make transition financially and legally impossible for everyone. It's no longer a debate about parental rights. It's a direct challenge to the bodily autonomy of grown queer Americans. As these proposals move forward, white papers to potential executive orders, the message is clear. The fight for our healthcare is just beginning. Well, there's so much to take away and unwrap from that. First of all, being a big supporter of trans rights, working for a production company with Dana Davis and Candace Kane, and knowing so many great trans people, and they're part of our alphabet and our community. The one thing that I keep on seeing is the hypocrisy. I did some research before reading this story, and apparently there's no attack on I can't talk today, but hormone therapy, surgery, medical procedures like breast reduction, augmentation for heterosexuals is acceptable and would be covered by those programs, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid. They might say someone needs to have a breast reduction due to physical components or other adjustments, but it's not okay for someone who is transitioning to have those things done so that they have better mental health and they are who they are. So again, the hypocrisy continues.
If you want to talk about hypocrisy, yes, it's the Heritage Foundation.
Yes.
For those that aren't familiar, if you're like, what is the group that every awful oligarch and scum of the earth dirtbag is either involved with or funds, it's the Heritage Foundation. This group it disgusts me. For those that know me from Options Magazine, which is based in Rhode Island, the idea that you would go after the LGBT community of Rhode Island over that shooting is disgusting. It turns my stomach to read this guy. But also, so it's just this insanity. The idea that you're going to define sex as a biological binary, they're just two. Well, what happens to intersex people? What happens to people whose chromosomes don't match how they were born? What are the doctors supposed to do? You're trying to invent things that aren't real, you heritage freakazoids. That's the only way I can call the Heritage Foundation. No. It's not the Heritage Foundation, the Heritage freakazoids.
Well, thank you for bringing up the point about intersex, because some people choose to remain intersex. Some people hopefully have the choice if they choose to transition to one sex or the other. Mm-hmm. And so, unfortunately, as we know historically, sometimes the choice is made. So how are you as lawmakers going to address that? How?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is something that we had just created.
No.
This has been happening.
Yes.
The intersex has been going on, as long as we
and you look at the bigger picture historically, and if you read your history and know your history out there, you look at the history of multi-spirit people who are two-spirited or multi-spirited, whether it's our Native Americans or other cultures throughout the world.
Absolutely. I completely get behind you on that statement. I'm all about spirituality and mental health. And
yes.
That's, huge. It's so just not focused on as much as it should be.
No.
And if that's something that's going to, if that's what you have to do to be the human that you are meant to be, then by all means, why are we trying to deny that? I don't understand at this day and age. It's not something that we've just pulled out of thin air. This has been going on.
I know. It's been absolutely appalling to watch what has been happening, not just with the Heritage Foundation, but the attacks on the trans community in general over the last few years has just gone beyond the pale of what's acceptable, and I think we as a community need to do a lot more to defend them.
Well, and not to get morbid, but you look at the parallels but behind the Holocaust and the perfect Aryan race, so to speak, kind of concept, and then you look at this, what is their end game?
Oh yeah, especially since you mentioned that, the Heritage Foundation is the one that helped write Project 2025, which did call for they didn't use the word camps, just non-permanent structures like tents that could house lots of people to either deport or do God knows what else too. And that is the most disturbing story of the evening. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight. I hope I didn't cut the story off too soon.
No, I hope I